Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season premiere of Walker. A great season premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. We're picking up 3 months after the season finale of Walker, and obviously picking up picking up with the events of certain things. Obviously, it sets up a really interesting thing between like the Walkers and the Davidsons. Obviously, they're a family that lived here beforehand and now are back, but there's a lot of bad blood between them and the Walkers. There was a fire in a barn years ago, and apparently Marv had died trying to save Cordell from the fire, even though he went back in there to save. I mean, because like, at the very least, it seems like the family definitely knows more. Like, Bon and Abby feel like they know more than they're letting on. But it's like, Walker was away from the barn when the fire started. He went back in there. But they blame him because they've always said, like, the family blames him saying, like, well, Marv died because of you. He went into the fire to save you, but also blamed him for even potentially starting a fire. This bad blood goes all the way because like Liam blames them because they blame them. Like he is pissed at the family because that family blames them, especially because like Denise, who her and Walker have a past, she ended up coming back here and snatching up his job as the DA. Even though it's like, right, you have to stay on as ADA. And it's like, yeah, like he thought at the very least, because of everything coming out about Stan, at least he could, like, you know, he'd be a surefire hit for the job now that that's all out there. But nope. Also, Denise's husband's a piece of work. Like, coming into the bar, it's so interesting. You married into this family. Yeah, he's ride or die for the family. Denise kind of justifies it by being like, well, he grew up with nothing. Oh, so family's so important to him. So he married into this family. So their beefs are his beef. But it's like, yo, he came into that bar starting stuff, flinging at stuff at, like even saying, oh, Liam, you're Liam, right? Oh, you're the one that couldn't even win against Stan, a guy who was a murderer. It's like, why are you starting stuff? Especially, he got even more heated the moment he found out, like, the bar that they're in, you know, is partially, you know, Walker's. So, like, it's just, like, there's just so much there. Also, like, their son was a D-bag to Stella and August. I was like, there's a good chance he's not the one that keyed the car. That actor, I've just seen him pop up all over the place. Like, first I saw him as Sean in Rebel. He recently was in this past season of Animal Kingdom. So I was like, oh, huh. I just found that fascinating. But, like, the moment he showed up and they're like, oh, who is he? And the moment he's like, oh, who do they think they are? And the moment we got introduced to the Davidsons, especially because Denise is like, yeah, my mom, me and my son are moving back here. And you're like, okay, yep, that kid's got to be her son, and it totally is. Because Stella was about to pop off on him because he was talking about, like, oh, you're a Walker, won't you go ahead and get your dad to arrest me? And just calling her, like, entitled princess or something. I thought she was going to swing on him, but it was actually August. And August, let's face it, kicked the kid's ass. But now it's like, now they know he's a Davidson. They were there, like Walker and Denise kind of having to play peacekeepers, like Walker forcing August to apologize because he already knows there's such bad blood between their families. He's not trying to let this next generation of things like escalate things worse than they are. So August apologized, but he's like, oh, I'm sorry for kicking your ass. He almost like went to his dad like, right, good, like, yeah, but his dad's trying to be a better person. So I was like, yeah, it's probably not good for me to co-sign that, especially considering he's trying to keep the peace with Denise. But obviously Denise is like, we'll split the bill between the repairs. Obviously Liam, man, it's like, this is not looking good because the Walkers are swinging on the Davidsons because it's like, first August swings on Denise's son, and then Liam swings on her husband. I mean, hell, Liam's even pissed with Denise because she's like, oh yeah, like, it's kind of a conflict of interest, you know, for you to be next to this, like, Del Rio case. But he's like, wait, so you're kicking me off the job, off the case, but you're also asking for my advice? She's like, I can do both. Because for her, it's like, she feels like the Walkers are too much of an... Like, it's like coming here starting stuff with the Walkers after they've had to deal with what they've dealt with. It's almost like Again, no, I don't know whether the Davidsons are they know enough about what went down like in this past year, like especially recently, especially on the land, because like Denise's mom, because even Denise calls her mom out, being like, "Oh, she's a bit of a bitch," but she's like, "Oh, like we can at least allocate it to just demanding," but we both know that there's more to it than that. Is kind of what she was jokingly saying, but it is this situation of like. I mean, it's not like Denise came and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry about your wife." Like, you feel like it's still in that territory where it's like, "Oh, your condolences and stuff like that." You'd expect that, so that's why I'm like, are they ignorant to that part of things? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just things are awkward because there's, I mean, because I guess like they were almost like a very like, and that's the complicated thing of like there was like a Romeo and Juliet thing there. Which, speaking of, it's like, well, I'm curious to see what they do with the whole Jerry situation this season, because they were like the way they were kind of setting it up. Because that's also like, speaking of Jerry, that's why she actually doesn't like this family either, because they look down upon like Hoyt couldn't come over just because of like his background, and obviously as someone who cared for Hoyt, it's like, because it turns out that, Walker and Denise have known each other for a while, so I'm sure that's going to spark some issues and of its own, because there was a relationship. We don't know if they, like, tried to have a relationship after the barn fire or what happened, but because, like, Walker doesn't remember much about what happened, and kind of neither does she. Like, it's because that's the thing Liam asked his parents, because it's like, yeah, what did happen? Because it's like everyone has their own version of the story. It's like, I remember them blaming us, even trying to sue us, I believe, but it's like Bonham and Abby were like, yeah, the thing was settled, because Denise's dad, because they brought it up early in the episode, he was the one that Abby was engaged to, but she left him for Bonham. So because when Denise's mom came over, she was starting mad shit with Abby, being like, "Oh yeah, like in the dirt and stuff like that." And I guess I don't know whether that has anything to do with like whatever went on with that barn situation, whatever was quote unquote settled, because they're saying like, because that was a whole argument too, is like some of the Walker land belonged to them, and I guess it's about kind of getting back what they wanted. Now whether they're up to something sinister, who knows? But it's just about two families like pitted against each other is kind of what I think the main crux of like at least that side of the story is going to be. There's still the angle of who's watching the Walkers, because someone has this place bugged now. What that's connected to, at the time I thought like maybe it has something to do with like Walker's like time in the military or something. I don't think who's ever spying on them has anything to do with the Davidsons. There's just probably going to be cross-pollination between the stories. Like, there's going to be overlap, just like there was like last season, a lot of overlap in certain storylines. But I think the same thing's going to happen here. Like, I think those are two separate things that are just going to like hit the Walker family from two different sides, type of thing. Obviously, Trey and Walker have gotten closer. Obviously, he's worried about Mickey, who's been undercover this entire time. I even love like her stealing that car like that. And you even had it's like, oh, he's like, who taught you that? And she's like, yeah, an old friend. And at first I was like wondering, like, I don't know what to make of that old friend, because at first I was like, oh, she talking about Walker, but it's like, no, like I think she's talking about who pops up at the end, as she brought up last season, the one that got away. Because Trey kept circling back to it. Trey wanted to keep getting updates about Mickey's situation because he hadn't heard anything. And so Walker was trying to talk to... Well, we never got to see it in the episode, but I guess like in between, like he kept asking James about it, but he knew James would, he's like, right, it's undercover work, so he can't give you too much of a response. So Walker was like, knew it was that. He was like, yeah, I can't... He knew like there's only so much information he can give Trey, but it's also because Mickey wasn't checking in that often, because she hadn't really made much progress, and James wants to pull her off because he already made the mistake once and saw like, they had to all deal with the aftermath of what Walker drowned himself in that undercover work and what that did to him, like the whole Duke situation. It's like, I should have pulled him out sooner, but I didn't, and he doesn't want to make that mistake again, which, because this is all for the purpose of Walker too, because they know he's the target, and they know that if he finds out he's being targeted, like they don't want him to kind of go off the deep end like he did last season. Like especially because the whole conversation is he is in a better place. He's doing good now, so he's taking the steps to keep his family in line while also finding his way forward past everything that's kind of happened. So I am curious, like, probably won't be seeing any, like, glimpses of flashes of Emily, because he finally, like, let go. He finally accepted it and was just finally able to let go. So I think that like that scene, like in the season finale, will probably be the last time you see her, unless something else comes up. But I don't see that being the case. We'll see. But I think they're definitely like, yeah, like that's kind of how that is. But we'll have to wait and see. But Trey's actually the one that ended up ultimately telling Walker the truth. It's like, oh, how long have you known? Like, he's probably known since Mickey took the undercover job, because, you know, a big thing all across the board, across everyone, is like, right, no more secrets. Everyone's got to be a little bit more upfront, because Bonham's like, oh, I'm feeling better, you know, the medicine's working and stuff like that. So it's like, right, he's telling, you know, and he's got Abby by his side, so it's like, right, no more secrets on their front, but I think in general. But Trey knows that Mickey took this undercover job because she was trying to look out for Walker, but also for him, it's like seeing that guy, because he tried to find her, because, you know, it's fine and dandy of like, yeah, he's like, I care about Walker too, but it's like, I don't want you to put yourself in danger in this position, you know, because he hadn't heard from her in so long, because at least she'll try and call, I guess beforehand, he'd be able to talk to her, but she, like, is avoiding him, because she's also scared of, like, she doesn't know, she hopes that, she's like, I hope the girl finds her way back home to you, because, like, that is the thing too of, like, Mickey also kind of doesn't know on some level, like, who she will be when she comes back. Even, you know, even 3 months of undercover work, it can change you. Like, that, submerging yourself in that darkness, becoming who you need to become for the sake of the undercover, like, it can stick with you, like it did with Walker. And so she was keeping him at arm's length. And then the moment like, you know, Trey sees Spider killed in front of them, it's like, wait, this is something you're mixed up in, like, you could get hurt. So he ends up telling Walker the truth, which, yes, Walker ends up finding her, and I just love the whole thing, like, it's like, he's like, yeah, I'm here to have your back, and she's like, I hate you. He's like, I missed you too, Flora. And I'm like, oh, that's sweet. But, you know, she's like, yes, I get it, you're pissed. And he's like, but she's like, yeah, like, we didn't want you to, like, backpedal into, like, what this did to you before. He was like, exactly. What makes you think I'm going to sit on the sidelines and let what happened to me happen to you? Like, obviously, it's like, I care about you. You're just as much, you're not just my friend or my partner. You are family to me. So they're planning on taking this down together. I do love that. It's like, yeah, you know, because they end up arresting that guy, Morgan. So it's like, yeah, they're removing him from the equation so that Mickey can get closer to Serrano. But it's like, right, but we don't know how long. If Morgan gets free, he's obviously going to spill the beans to Serrano, because, like, Serrano must have, like, there must be some element of you being found out, because that's why potentially Spider got killed, because he brought Mickey closer to the organization, because he was going to put in a favor for Mickey, but I guess that's why, because Mickey took off pretty soon. I guess, like, Spider and him got into an argument, or maybe it's just kind of like, oh, you failed, I'm going to take care of her, but I'm going to take care of you first. Maybe, potentially. But, obviously Mickey doesn't want to walk away with it after they've come so far, they've gathered, you know, they've gotten this close to Serrano, so she isn't walking away from it. So Walker's like, right, if you're going to do this, I'm by your side. Like, I've got my partner's back in this. So even, Denise kind of co-signs it, but even she was like, yeah, don't start any fires, and Walker's kind of like, yeah. It's almost like you said that word specifically. So it's even like, does Denise blame Walker for it on some level? Like, once again, like, it's only the first episode of the season, so there's still a lot of details. We only got flashes to the fire situation, but it definitely feels like, because, like, she did call for Walker or Cordell and her dad, so the fact is he was there, and then her dad was, like, I don't know. There's something there. Once again, considering Denise's beef with Abby, because it's like, well, it's like, yeah, once again, it's like potentially because of some deeper, darker secret, or just for the nature of your son's the reason why my husband's dead type of thing. I don't know. But aside from all that, it's like Stella. You know, her and Trey talking, because they all got detention, and Trey, well, Stella, for her, it's like, right, everything from last year is still there. They want it to try to have, like, a normal, like, year, like, last year caused its own issues, but they wanted to kind of like make things, wanted things to be better this time around, but kind of starting on a rocky foot. And for her, it's like, after everything that happened, like, she's trying to find a way forward, but also it's like, she's like, I get very like aggro anytime it comes to anything related to my family, because she's trying to figure her life out, like, after everything. And it's just like, she's got to be thinking about, because she's a senior now, so it's like, I've got to be thinking about college. And there's some people who've got their jobs and their life planned out up to 2026, and it's like, but Trey's like, yeah, but it's okay not to know everything, like, you just kind of take everything at a time, step at a time. He's like, I'm an adult and I've already gone through 3 different jobs. It's like, you have to just wait, and, you know, you'll find, just give yourself time to figure things out. And obviously, what's the son's name, Colton, shows up. And, you know, because obviously she's also worried, because it's like, yeah, Dad didn't call. He didn't come home last night, so I got to worry. But August is like, nah, Dad's on a case, not a Duke case. And it's like, who's Duke? And it's like, I don't want to talk about my dad. And he's like, I don't want to talk about my mom. She's like, good. I think it's better for everyone. So once again, we see the generation. We're talking 3 generations of beef. Like, the parents, the children, and even the grandchildren are involved in this beef. So that's definitely going to, like I said, it's going to definitely present itself as a fascinating, like, crux of this story. More on it's going to be like more of a, rather than just a, like, the who's ever Serrano and potentially Walker. Well, because Serrano's supposed to be the one who either maybe hired the person or may have actually been the one pulling the trigger at the end of season 1 in Austin. So it's like, maybe. So he, on some level, connects to like the Walker stuff, but that's more like Cordell specific. Then you have like the Walkers versus the Davidson stuff, which I think is going to be another big crux of it. But that's the family thing, whereas like the shooting, it seems like it's more of a Cordell thing. So I'm curious to see how that ultimately ends up, you know, playing out. I even love, you know, Jerry is kind of like, oh, you know, I'm a Walker through and through. So she's kind of siding with them. Like, that's why she's not too happy about the Davidsons. Even like, we ended up finding out about the Denise thing, because it's like, right, it was a gift from Emily. So of course I'm not going to take it down. Like, despite like, you know, because Cordell did try to set up like a peace offering, like where they could settle it. But the Davidsons showed up, but the Walkers didn't. Well, because Walker was away, even though he was the one that set it all up, but he was looking after Mickey. So it is that complicated thing of like juggling so much at once. Because it's like, yeah, making sure Mickey was okay kind of took precedence over that. He probably completely forgot about like the whole like, oh, it's supposed to be like a peacekeeping moment between us. But I'm really excited to have Walker back. I'm really interested to see where this season ends up taking us. I'm very interested to see what next episode has in store for us, considering, you know, Mickey's in front of, once again, the one that got away, and what he's going to say and what he's going to do, what his part to play in all of this is. Might not just be Walker dealing with the past this season. Mickey will probably be confronting it too. But also, like, a big part is, like, who's she going to be after she comes out of undercover? Like, I'm excited to find out what the next episode has in store for us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.